I am very passionate about desserts, but more specifically, desserts that are so much easier to make than they seem. This video features 5 such recipes. These are perfect for little gatherings, whether that is a birthday, the holidays, or just a cozy movie night. Alright, so recipe number 1 is the perfect last minute dessert. Takes 5 minutes to make and only uses a couple ingredients that you might already have sitting at home. Transfer some creamy Biscoff to a medium-sized skillet along with 2 tablespoons of vegan butter and a generous pinch of salt. Allow everything to melt for a few minutes over medium-low. Next, grab a small blender or a food processor. Simply add Silken tofu plus the melted butter Biscoff mix. And that's pretty much it. Taste test, see if you need anything else. The Biscoff is so sweet in my opinion. I don't think you need any additional sweetener, but feel free. Then divide between 4 to 6 glasses depending on your desired portion size. The smooth texture of this is definitely paired best with a crunchy topping of some sort, like crushed Oreos, crushed Biscoff cookies. Any cake that has more than 1 layer always looks really impressive in my opinion, but that doesn't mean it's difficult to make. It just requires a little bit of waiting in between certain steps. First, I'm melting my butter and preheating the oven to 180 degrees Celsius. And then I'm getting started on the cake batter by mixing together all the wet ingredients inside a large mixing bowl, non-dairy milk, vinegar, vanilla, sugar, and then eventually the melted vegan butter. I'm separately combining the dry ingredients, so the flour, baking powder, cinnamon, and salt. I'm bringing everything together until smooth. I've got this springform pan here that for some reason I decided to line with parchment paper. That is not necessary, and actually it makes things more difficult. Just grease it like you would normally, add your batter, and then let this bake for around 30 minutes or until it's nice and golden brown, and if you were to poke it with a fork it comes out clean. While the cake is starting to cool down, I am preparing a cup of strong, sweet chai. Bring that to a simmer and then allow this to sit for 10 to 15 minutes. Squeeze out as much of the liquid and spice as you can. Next, poke the sponge cake with a fork. And then carefully pour the milky tea on top. Let this sit and cool down for at least an hour. In the meantime, get started on the frosting. You boil the cashews for 20 to 30 minutes, then you drain them and transfer them to a food processor together with some cold vegan butter, a syrup, vanilla, salt, and coconut milk. Just blend it until smooth. This might take a few minutes, be patient. Add the frosting, smoothing out the top, and then allowing this to sit in the fridge for at least 6 hours, ideally overnight. Now, right before serving, feel free to add any additional toppings, perhaps something crunchy. I'm going with these adorable gingerbread cookies. I got these from the baking section at Edeka. This cake is not only beautiful, it is so delicious. It really tastes like a chai latte, which is exactly what I wanted. I think the cashew frosting goes so well with the base. Highly recommend you try this. Various videos for these cinnamon roll bites have been shown to me across all platforms for a while now. It took me a couple tries to find a vegan recipe adaptation that worked for me. In the end, I was happy with this version here, which tastes like the perfect hybrid between a cinnamon roll and a buttery breakfast biscuit. Inside a large mixing bowl, I first combined the flour, salt, cinnamon, and nutmeg. Then I cut the cold vegan butter into small cubes, transferred those to the big bowl, gave that a quick mix, and then using a fork and a knife, I'm cutting the butter pieces even smaller, as small as possible. This part is way easier done with a pastry cutter or a food processor, and I will have some more notes on this in the description, but I thought I would show you guys the non-equipment version here. Once you feel like the butter pieces have turned into small enough flakes, you gradually pour in the non-dairy milk. Mix it up so it roughly comes together, and then you dump everything onto a floured surface. And finally, quickly bring the dough together with your hands. Let it rest in the fridge for 30 minutes. Meanwhile, butter the baking dish, put together some cinnamon sugar, preheat the oven to 180 degrees Celsius, and pour some plant-based cream or coconut milk into a separate bowl. And then you basically shape the dough into balls, each one being about 2 tablespoons worth of batter. Dip each bite into the cream first, and then into the cinnamon sugar, and then place into the baking sheet, and continue. Now let this bake until everything has puffed up slightly. Serve these right away with a quick glaze, for example. I personally really enjoyed them with some vegan sour cream. They do keep well in the fridge for quite a few days, and in order to revive them, you basically place a couple into a non-stick skillet, add some non-dairy milk, you put a lid on top, and then let this steam and cook for a few minutes until everything is nice and soft and fluffy again. Ooh, these ones I had with some roasted sesame seeds on top. Amazing. Alright, so for this next recipe, we're making this cozy Greek pastry called Bougatsa. I was introduced to this very recently by my lovely friend Artemis. Check out her Instagram. But yeah, it is so delightful. The filling can be made in advance. So in a large pot, place the non-dairy milk, I'm going with oat, the non-dairy cream, I'm going with oat, and some in water dissolved cornstarch. Mix that well, and then bring the heat up to medium-high. Meanwhile, you can start adding the salt, the sugar, plus lots and lots of vanilla. I'm doing both vanilla aroma drops and vanilla sugar. And as you're bringing this up to a simmer, quickly mix in the fine semolina. This is best done with a whisk. And then once it starts boiling, reduce the heat to medium and allow this to simmer for about 5 minutes. Also mix in the vegan butter. Once this mixture has reached porridge-like consistency, take it off the heat and let it cool down completely. Okay, now on to folding and assembling. First, you're gonna wanna melt a bunch of vegan butter, and then grab some phyllo, or in my case, yufka, which I got from the Turkish supermarket. This was my first time ever working with this type of dough, so I'm getting a good overview of my sheets here, breaking quite a few of them in the process though. I was watching this video right here, which tells you how to fold a bougatsa, and I'm gonna link it down below. I tried to follow it as best as I could. Basically, every single sheet you'll want to brush with vegan butter, and then spray with water as well. I am fixing any holes by adding pieces of dough on top, making sure to also cover those in butter and water. I'm adding a second layer here, same thing, brushing it with melted butter, spraying it with water. But then for layer 3 and 4, I'm concentrating on the center to make for a strong base. And then onto my 4th layer, I'm adding the now fully cooled custard. Now I'm adding a final layer on top of the filling. Then I'm bringing in all the sides, brushing everything once again with butter. Transferring this to the baking sheet was a journey in and of itself. I did not expect this to be as heavy, so it would have definitely been smarter to put together everything right on the baking sheet on some parchment paper. Good morning. I decided to reheat my bougatsa for another 5 minutes maybe before serving. Probably should have done that before adding the sugar and cinnamon, but it's okay, it's okay. It's not too hot. I don't think the sugar is going to melt. I only have it at like 110, 120 degrees Celsius. It is very reassuring knowing that the pastry can turn out so well despite the whole dough breaking dilemma. I know there's like a Nutella filled version as well, which just sounds incredible. Last but not least, we're making what feels like the most popular dessert. It's hands down the best tiramisu I've ever made. People keep asking me for the recipe, so here it is. First, prepare the sponge cake, which is to replace the ladyfingers. First, in a large mixing bowl, place the dry ingredients. I have no words for what just happened, but I'm just starting over. Combine all the dry ingredients, so the flour, sugar, salt, and baking powder. Next, add the wet ingredients, so the sparkling water and the melted vegan butter. And then I'm transferring this mix to my baking sheet that's lined with parchment paper. And then this goes into the preheated oven until fluffy and golden brown. I'm picking up this recipe the following morning. First, I'm whipping up some strong instant espresso. And now I didn't have amaretto, and so I'm gonna be improvising here with coffee liqueur and a little bit of vodka because I didn't want to use up all the coffee liqueur. You don't have to use any alcohol though. You can also just do the coffee and you'll be fine. On to part 3, the cream mixture. First, in a large mixing bowl, place some vegan cream cheese that's at room temperature. Whip it up until smooth. Next, add the powdered sugar. Mix it all up until smooth. And then in a separate big bowl, you're going to whip up some vegan whipped cream until stiff peaks. And then I'm carefully folding the whipped cream under the cream cheese powdered sugar mixture. And there we go. Cut the biscuit cake layer in half and place it into the tiramisu dish. Poke the cake layer with a fork. Okay. And then pour over about half the coffee mixture. Next, add about half of the cream. If you have one of these cake frosting scraper spatulas, that's super helpful. Make sure this cake layer has been poked as well. Add the rest of the coffee and the rest of the cream. Last but not least, we can't forget about the unsweetened cacao. And I'll put this into the fridge for at least 5 hours. It's so beautiful and it tastes just as good as it looks. I served both the tiramisu and the chai latte cake for this Twilight watch party. And what's more festive than watching Twilight for the 20th time and eating homemade desserts? Like, I guess this video works as my annual Christmas video. I feel like I posted it quite late this year, so I wanted this to be relevant beyond the holidays, but I still hope you enjoyed it. If you're looking for a more themed, more campy winter video, definitely check out my Twin Peaks video if you haven't seen it yet. A lot of people haven't seen it yet. It's really good. It's niche, but it's genuinely my favorite video I posted this entire year. It is spoiler free, so you don't have to have seen the show in order to enjoy it. And there's so many cool ideas when it comes to desserts that can be also made this winter, whether that is for the holidays or just some other time, definitely check it out. And then of course, if you're looking for specific Christmas videos, I have a whole playlist that I will put, I don't know if I can link playlists, yes I can, that I will put down below in the description, as well as somewhere here on the screen. And last but not least, thank you also to my sponsor, Squarespace. Squarespace makes it really easy to create a beautiful website, connect to your audience, share your art, sell your products, sell your content, and more. Start by choosing from their wide range of professionally designed website templates to get started, or build your site from scratch if you prefer. Also, create a new logo while you're at it. Have your website quickly get discovered with their optimized SEO tools, meaning you will show up more often in people's search engines and therefore grow your brand and business the way you want. If you need extra help, don't hesitate to ask their 24/7 award-winning customer service. Start today. Go to squarespace.com/MinaRome and use the code MinaRome to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.